You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk radio.
This is Ghost Talk with 187 PI. Sit back and prepare yourselves for an adventure into the paranormal world with host Shelley Robertson and 187 PI research team. Ghost Talk is broadcasting live from Ohio's most haunted jail. Learn about their ongoing research at the jail and abroad, investigation techniques, and their personal encounters. Here is your host of Ghost Talk and 187 PI founder, Shelley Robertson.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Ghost Talk Radio with me as your host, Shelley Robertson. We have a fantastic show planned for you tonight, and we're bringing it to you live from the haunted Old Paulding County Jail here in Paulding, Ohio. I invite all of my listening friends out there to join us in chat at WBHM-DB.com, where you can get in on tonight's topic of conversation. Tonight, I have Kristen Boyd here with me to discuss witches, legends, and their lore, trials, and hauntings. Hello and welcome, Kristen.
Hey, guys.
I want to take this first opportunity, this moment. We have a very dear friend and someone who always listens to all the shows. Her name is Brenda, and today is her birthday. Happy birthday, Brenda.
Happy birthday.
So, you know me. I love to dive into the history of things. So, this is going to be no different. One of the earliest records of a witch, okay, folks? It was actually written in the Bible between 931 BC and 721 BC. Now, the witch craze itself, it didn't really take hold until about the 1400s within Europe. That's where it all starts. Seems like everything starts across the pond, doesn't it?
It does.
Between the years of 1482 and 1782, there were like 100,000 people who were accused of witchcraft in Europe. That's a lot of people.
That's a huge amount of people.
Upwards of 80,000 of these people, suspected witches, so they were put to death. Imagine. 80% of them were women. And, witchcraft, it actually became a crime within England in 1542, with the most popular choice of the guilty charge being death by hanging.
Scary thought.
Yes.
Well, it all truly began because people were forced to live primitive lives without the luxuries of the modern medicines and treatment that we have today. And at the time, when a person was sick, ill, or in pain, there was little that could actually be done to help them. It was also during this time that some sage women learned the value of healing through herbs and other types of homeopathic treatments.
And they don't usually call them sage women these days, do they?
They do not. Well, they became very educated with the knowledge of herbal remedies to help ailments and ease childbirth by using various plant-based medicines.
Well, unfortunately, during that time, little was understood about healing in those days, and it was as Christianity spread across Europe. Of course, many of the clergy of the church, they were upset about the aspect of women being educated. Is that insane?
It is sad.
It is. And as far as the church was concerned, all healing should be done strictly through the men in the church. That's nothing for the women. And we were worried about, the right to vote.
Exactly.
Over time, these healers, they began to be associated and accused of various crimes, such as heresy, being anti-Christian even, and eventually many were even accused of devil worshiping. Well, back in those days, everything must be the devil, Yep. Think about that. Now, the church viewed healing as like an evil sorcery and of black magic, These supposed witches, they were now being accused of doing the devil's work and being in cahoots with him in some of the most orchestrated plans to help destroy mankind. That's what they thought.
In reality, they were helping heal.
That's right. And they were believed to worship in large nocturnal groups where various social acts were performed, such as, a little, not, promiscuous, hanky-panky, naked dancing.
Seems
and
so far-fetched.
Right. And gluttonous feasting, get this, on human flesh of infants.
Oh my.
That is insane. Now, at the height of these acts, people at the time believed the devil himself would appear to participate with all the attendants. So he was, I guess, dancing naked around the campfire too.
What a sight to see.
Absolutely. Now, to tame these evil women, the Pope, he issued a document on December 5th, 1484, that condemned the witches. He also authorized 2 inquisitors, and it was Jacob Springer and Mr. Kramer, to combat this problem of the witches. They produced this book that was entitled The Hammer of Witches. Okay, they even wrote a book, this is crazy, that both Catholics and Protestants accepted. Now, the book itself, it contains stories about witches based on folklore, providing guidelines on how to identify and eliminate the witches. This book had been described as the most vicious and the most damaging book to ever been written in the world of literature, okay? That is saying something.
Yes, it is.
This book served as the platform for witch hunters to act on their prejudice for over 200 years.
Sad people could be manipulated.
A witch hunting book.
Yeah.
Now, these accusations and the new laws, they drove the healers further underground, of course. And many of these healers, they tried to live quiet lives in deeply remote peasant villages. Unfortunately, by the late 1400s, that was not enough for these healers. They were eventually found and questioned about how they were practicing their craft. Now, religious sources were planting fear as well as hysteria into the minds of many people by stating and accusing these healers of practicing witchcraft, which would be tried and executed publicly for all to see. So they made a big spectacle of it.
Right.
The actual accusations of witchcraft, you will not believe this, it required no actual evidence of guilt. That's the most astonishing thing, isn't it?
Just by word of mouth.
Yes.
They forced all these people to believe these other people were witches.
Yes, yes. Didn't need any proof.
Yeah. Well, witches and the practice of witchcraft continue to be feared, and the legends and myths surrounding them continue to evolve. Now, due to the festival of Samhain, a celebration at the end of harvest season, a great deal of folklore was created. During Samhain, witches were thought to anoint themselves with a balm that made their faces very shiny and light. It is thought that this ointment gave their skin an ethereal appearance, leading up to the rumors of witches being able to fly.
Oh, so that's where that come
That's
from.
where it came from. A little far-fetched, but you know.
Yeah.
So early so-called witches did carry brooms, but not for flying, as some would think. Now these brooms were actually used to cleanse an area or room before a healing ritual could be performed. Now these days I think they use feathers and such to do such things. Well, this practice could have led to the notion that witches could fly and did so with the aid of a broomstick. Far-fetched? Yeah, absolutely. But obviously not for past times.
Right.
Well, eventually thousands were arrested and brought to the inquisitors for examination. Now, one way the accused witch was tested was by stripping and shaving them.
Oh.
I can't imagine. Then they were searched, usually in public, for any suspicious markings they called the devil's mark. Now, they would then stick a needle into any spot they found, such as birthmarks, warts, moles, and scars. If the prick didn't hurt or bleed, the spot was considered a mark of Satan.
No kidding.
Well, some accused were bound and put into a blessed body of water. If they sank, they were deemed innocent and pulled out. Now, if they floated, they were considered witches and executed on the spot or handed over to be tried. Other suspects were weighed because it was thought that witches had little to no weight.
Oh my gosh. I am a chubby girl, so I would float and I would be hanged.
Oh my goodness. Craziness.
Well, in most cases, to be able to execute the accused, they first needed to confess to being a witch. So other torturing measures were set in place to help them with the confessions. Kind of probably much like the detectives of today, how they interrogate and badger until you break, you know.
I could see that.
The church would use instruments, torturing, such as thumb and leg screws, ouch, head clamps, and the Iron Maiden to generate the truth needed to complete the execution. Well, it was warned, though, that when the woman or women were under examination and torture, the torturer was not to make eye contact with them, as her evil powers might cause the torturer to develop feelings of compassion.
That is the most insane thing I've ever heard.
So while you're, screwing my leg to the floor or whatever,
oh my goodness,
do not look into the eyes, or you will feel sorry for me.
And who wouldn't confess, even if they
just to get them to stop?
Exactly. That's crazy. Well, finally, relief of accused witchcraft and witches began to arise. In 1631, a priest named Frederick Speed, who had accompanied many people judged to be witches, stated that none, in his viewpoint, were actually guilty.
Well, bravo! Bravo!
And if that witch hunting continued, the land would become empty of people.
Obviously.
Especially since it was targeting women.
Yes.
So. Meanwhile, physicians began recognizing that such things as seizures could be linked to health-related issues and not demon possessions. It was during the 17th century that the number of trials sharply decreased, and by the end of that century, the witch craze had all but ended.
Oh, boy. Unfortunately, the witch craze of Europe did not go unnoticed. As the craze was declining in Europe, it began taking place within the U.S.
Oh, boy.
So it's leaving there and it's coming here. The legends, lores, trials, and torture techniques varied from some of the Europe's, overall perspectives. Within the U.S., the belief of witches or wizards were that they were bound to Satan by giving them their soul, and in return, they received the gift of having supernatural powers. What do you think about that?
Interesting. Indeed.
Yes. The deed was signed in blood of the witch, and horrible ceremonies confirmed the pact. Satan would then give his now ally a familiar in the form of a dog, cat, ape, or other small black animal. Okay? People believed that these witches were capable to raise storms, blight crops, cause abortions, lame cattle, topple over houses, cause pains, convulsions, and various other illnesses. They also believed that they too had power to ride the winds, usually with a broomstick. So they believed that here in the U.S. too. But it was only after she had smeared her broom with that magic ointment.
I want some of that ointment.
Yeah. We've got some brooms in there. Let's go take a ride.
Well, there is a legend. It states that if the witch desired to harm a person, that she would make a clay or wax image of them and use that image to wreak havoc on them by taking a knife, needle, fire, or water to it.
That is almost like voodoo.
Exactly. That's what I would say. Whatever was done to that image, the person was to feel that pain physically themselves, no matter how far away that person may be. A few examples would be that if the image was placed in running water, hot sunshine, or near fire, the living flesh would waste away as it melted or dissolved, and the person this was wrought upon would die.
Well, they could do it to me for a little bit till some of this fat melted off me, and I wouldn't have to worry about a diet. That'd be fabulous. The first person to actually be convicted of witchcraft within the U.S. was a woman by the name of Alice Young. History states that she was hung on May 26, 1647 for witchcraft, but there were no records of any trial or any accusation. However, there is a wide variety of speculations of why she was accused, ranging from her being the age of 40 with no son, for an example. She didn't have a son, so they thought she might be a witch. And there was this influenza epidemic in the area that had a high mortality rate, and they said that she could maybe be blamed for that, or be blamed for possibly being a healer at that time, or that she could have just been making herbal remedies for fellow settlers, later in life. Roughly 30 years. In Springfield, Massachusetts, her daughter was also accused of witchcraft, but her daughter was not executed.
Well, that's good to know.
And with that, folks, we will be right back after this short break. You're listening to Ghost Talk Radio on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama. Since 1948, Fate Magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Son of a...
Hey, son.
Mother...
Son, what are you doing?
Hey, Mom. I'm getting ready to listen to Periscope Uncensored.
By expanding your vocabulary.
Well, it is uncensored.
Son, the uncensored part of Periscope Uncensored is Jax and I getting down to brass tacks with all aspects of the paranormal. There's no fluff on our show.
So, no off-color commentary?
I didn't say that.
Awesome!
Son?
I just hit my head.
Oh boy, I'll go get you an ice pack. Catch Periscope Uncensored Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, only on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting. Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 23 minutes after the hour.
Welcome back to Ghost Talk Radio with me as your host, Shelley Robertson, and joining me is Kristen Boyd. If you just tuned in, we invite you all to join us in chat at WBHM-DB.com, where you can ask us any questions you might have. And if you missed the first part of the show, no worries, folks. You can catch the full show archive on Spreaker, Google Play, iTunes, and iHeartRadio at your leisure. Now, before the break, we were discussing some of the Salem witch trials, and we were just getting into how they come about over here in the U.S. So you know some of the legends of that, correct?
Well, I do.
Okay.
Actually, 30 years before the infamous Salem witch trials took place, a witch hysteria took hold in Hartford, Connecticut in 1662, resulting in 7 trials and 4 executions. It all began when a woman named Anne Cole suddenly became afflicted, shaking violently and spouting blasphemies. Cole blamed her outbursts and ailments on her neighbor, Rebecca Greensmith. It was then the accused began to accuse others, including their own spouses, of being the actual true witch.
Oh boy. Your husband would accuse you.
Oh my goodness. Well, the testimony that created the most chaos came from Greensmith herself.
Oh.
Who reportedly admitting having familiarity with the devil. She even stated that her husband was a part of this and that they had met in the woods with 7 other witches. Now, why you would testify against yourself, I have no clue.
Oh, boy.
But the neighbors also testified they seen them dancing with other women in the woods and that they were cooking concoctions in black kettles.
So that's where those cauldrons came into play.
Well, Greensmith confessed all this in court, but her husband protested his innocence. Unfortunately for him, they both met the same fate, hanging. 2 others were also executed and met the same fate as the Greensmiths. After the executions, Cole reportedly was restored to health.
No kidding.
Imagine that.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. Let's move on to some of the most known witch trials within the U.S. And that is, folks, you guessed it, the Salem witch trials, right? I mean, who doesn't know something, a little bit at least, of something about that? Now, these trials